All right, I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but it appears that my video went zap. So we're going to run through this a little bit quicker pace. This is the Rosette Nebula, NGC 2244. I've done all the preliminary calibrations. So what we're going to do next is we're going to just take a look at the three masters that I've created, and then we'll combine them and we'll start processing this. Here we have hydrogen alpha, right here. We have our O3 and we have our S2. Now we're going to do this in a bicolor palette as opposed to a tricolor palette. So let's go and channel combination our images here. So we have our images up there still. We've got, should be our H, and then we've got oxygen. Make sure that's the same one. And then we have our oxygen again. So it's going to be bicolor. I'm not going to be using the sodium in this. I just want a more traditional looking image. All right, so there's our bicolor image. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a dynamic crop on this just to clean it up a little bit. We would need to get rid of these edges here. Pull that up to about there. Pull that down to about there. Just see here. That looks about right. All right, now that we've done the crop, we're going to do an automatic background extraction, and let's do that on a copy. I don't have a lot of confidence in how these turn out sometimes, so this is going to normalize our gradients, and I'm going to not discard it just so that I can show you what it looks like. All right, so this is our gradient removal, and this is what's been removed from the image. So it's all of our unwanted gradients. We don't need to keep that. And if we have a look now at this image here, this is our final product with the gradients removed. And that is with the gradients still in the image. So you look at this darker color on the bottom corner here. And if we go and reapply that, it's balanced the image out quite a bit. So I'm happy with that. We're going to keep that. Next thing we can do here is we can do some noise reduction. And let's just pick an area down, say down here. All right, so this is noise. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to reduce that a little bit. We're going to do a linear noise reduction. And I can tell that we're still in the linear state because we have this green bar along the side. All right, so we don't need to do a preview. We're just going to apply this to the preview. It will not apply it to the main image if we're working on a preview. We're going to do a reduction like this a couple of times throughout this process. So there you go. There's a basic noise reduction. And if we take that off, you can see how it's just gotten rid of some of the modeling. And for now, that's going to be good enough for what we're working with here. So let's apply that to the entire image. There you go. You can see here if we take it off, we turn it on, it's subtle, but it's there. Okay, so I'm happy with that. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a background neutralization. Now, this doesn't always come off as planned, so we're going to work on a copy. If it works, we'll keep it. If it doesn't, we won't. Yeah, that's not too terribly bad. We're going to work off of that copy, and we'll see what we can do. The only thing I don't like is this appears to have introduced, no, maybe not, a lot more noise, but we'll see here. Okay, so we're going to turn both of these. So we're going to do both for now. We're going to work on two just to sort of double up on that background neutralization just in case, right? So first thing we're going to do now is we're going to actually we're going to remove, or we're going to take this from a linear state into a nonlinear state. And to do that, we're going to use histogram transformation and a screen transfer. So first one we'll work on is this guy. Okay, and then we'll remove our stretch. It's kind of dark. Let's back that up a bit here. Put the stretch back on. Yeah, no, let's go the other way. Stretch off. Okay, let's go to this one. Not liking that. Let's see. There, that's tight. All right, we'll take a look at it anyways. All right, there we go. So now these have both been taken and put into a nonlinear format. And the reason you can tell that is because there's no more green bar on the side. So let's just see if we can bring this up a little bit with our histogram transformation. Not really liking the way that stretch went, but let's get our preview on here. We're going to start pulling this in. All right, that's not too bad. That definitely gives us something decent to work with. We're not getting the same kind of brightness we're getting here, but again, back to this image. This image is pretty much noise free, and this one is noisy or noisier. Okay, so we'll have to deal with the noise on both of these, and then we'll decide which one we want to go with moving forward. Probably going to be this guy here. I'm not liking this one too much, but we'll have to wait and see how they both turn out. All right, let's put that back to its regular size. See if we can stretch that out like that. Okay, so first thing we do is we're going to just work on some saturation here. And to do that, we're going to go in our curves transformation. And we're just going to bring that up, get it up a little bit more in the reds. And we're going to bring it down a little bit, just a hair. We're back to you know, personal settings here on what, you know, what looks best. Yeah, I'm not liking that. Let's go to this one here then and see what we get. Under histogram transformation, we're going to just bring this down a little bit. This will probably end up being the one that we're working on. I can just pretty much tell. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably going to be the one. All right. Now we're a little off center, and I did that for a reason, because we have some good nebulosity here. And I don't want to lose any of that when we get into the final processing of this. So we're still dealing with some noise here, so we're going to go in and we're going to do a nonlinear noise reduction. And that's going to be AC DNR. We're going to go with structure size of 4. Sorry, iterations 3. Structure size of 4. 4 and 4. And let's get this down to 90% on the chrominance. All right, now before we do that, let's give ourselves a little preview window here. All right, so that's our preview. Let's apply this. And that didn't work out too good. Could be the modeling. Let's go with the structure size of 3. Nope. Let's take that to, oops, 5. 5. There we go. Much better. Go back and we have a look at that here. We'll take that off. And there's our preview window. And there we've got some noise reduction. So I'm happy with that. Let's apply that to the image. All right, good. So that's not bad. That's not bad at all. The data itself isn't really spectacular data, but it's something good enough to work with. And this data, I shot this data last year, maybe beginning of November, December of last year, somewhere in there. All right, so let's leave it at that. Let's just going to take one more look at our curves transformation here. Sorry, our histogram, and we'll refer back to this occasionally because we want to keep our peaks here right about here, right, as best we can. Let's get our preview on. Just going to pull that in a little bit. We'll apply that. Okay, so that's not bad. You know, I actually, from the standpoint of what we have to work with, especially with the O2 data, the O3 data, like, I mean, there was not a lot of O3 data there, as you can see. You know, the hydrogen was quite nice, right, and pretty much noise free, right? I mean, the hydrogen is really good. The O3 wasn't quite so great, and I didn't use the sodium. Not much there, and I didn't like that that tricolor look that it gave me when I attempted it earlier. All right, so we have our base image here. We've done some noise reduction. We're going to start working on color palettes here. I want to pinken this up a little bit. We want to remove the stars. We want to clean the background up, get rid of some of the modeling and stuff like that, get rid of as much noise as we can. Although it's not that bad now, it's a little bit too blotchy for my tastes. So first thing we're going to do at this particular point is we're going to get rid of those background stars. And to do that, we're going to use a process called StarNet. Now I've upgraded to StarNet 2, which I really like. It does a good job. Not quite as good as some of the Exterminator products, but for within this application, it does a really good job. All right, we're going to run that on our image. This is going to take a few seconds. Well, probably going to take a half a minute. So this is going to be the third video. Now I've linked my YouTube channel to my Twitch account. I love Twitch, and I'm going to keep putting these on there, as well as my my Papua New Guinea flights. However, I kind of wanted something a little bit more permanent for my astrophotography images, so I've created a YouTube channel, linked it in my Twitch account, so please feel free to go there and have a look. These will be all saved on there. I'll be uploading them as soon as I've done. It's not a fancy channel, it's more of just my reference to my images. So, you know, people that want to use it and take instruction from it, you know, that's fantastic. Those that want to criticize it, I mean, that's fantastic too, but this is really astrophotography processing in its simplest form. I'm not going into any details about, you know, specific processes that are in here, primarily because I process in its simplest form, right? I very rarely delve into something that's overly complicated, and Pixinsight tends to be a complicated program. I used most of the icons that I have on the side here at some point in time, which have all been set up for easy reference for me. Other than that, I have fun with this. I enjoy it, and as far as getting into the details of, you know, I could have done this better and why didn't I do that? You know what? At the end of the day, it's an art form. I took this photo with my camera. These photons traveled through space, so I've managed to look back in time, and I really enjoy this part of the astrophotography imaging. So I tend not to take it too seriously. I tend to joke around with it a little bit. However, if you have any tips or tricks on any of the processes within Pixinsight that can actually enhance my image without getting overly complicated, because I can't do overly complicated, I would really love to hear about it, and I'm more than interested to I'd be happy to try it out. All right, so one thing I did learn, which is complicated, but not complicated all at the same time, is how to deal with some of the bloating on the stars. And for that, we're going to use deconvolution, which is extremely complicated. I don't play around with any settings in here. Everything is default except for the standard deviation. Basically, what this is going to do is it's going to tighten up my stars. And I tend to come in and start in around about a 6 to 8, somewhere in that range. And then we're going to apply it to our preview image. Our preview image is non-destructive. We're not actually modifying the main image. We're only modifying the preview image. So if we don't like it, we can do it over. So let's apply this. And there, you see what that did? That tightened them up nice. You know, it got rid of the larger bloating, but it also removed some stars. Now, if you have a look in this area right here, right, there's 2 stars right there. So when we apply this, they're now gone. They're not in the star field. So probably a bit much. So let's bring this down to about a 5.9, somewhere in there. Let's apply it again. There you go. Now that's a good compromise, okay? They're faint. You can still see them. We have some blurring here, right? But not much. So if we go back, there's our original. And this star here specifically is what I'm talking about. Okay, if we apply this back at 5.9, it's still there. These have tightened up nice. And we've gotten rid of some of the bloating, but we haven't lost any stars within the field. Okay, so there's your before. And I'm going to show you an after on a different section of the... We're going to go slide this box around and see if we have any different results somewhere else. All right, so there we go. So see, we got some bloating here. So let's apply this at the 5.9 and see what we get on this side. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. If you have a look here, I mean, my stars are nice and tight. They're round. So let's specifically look at this group of 4 here. And there's the before. There's the after. So it does look like we might have a binary here, right? Really hard to tell. It might not be a binary, but it did remove that. It's still there, but it's tough to see. But it's just tightened everything up, made it quite nice actually. Some of these smaller stuff it's getting rid of. The one thing I do like about the deconvolution when I'm doing my stars is any walking noise that happens to be in the field tends to go away. So let's apply that globally to our image. Yeah, it's embarrassing. I don't know what happened to the first. I was streaming this and I come up to the end and then I went back in and I don't know what happened. It wound up deleted, which was bizarre. But anyways, so that's pretty good. What we're going to do now is something that I always do, and we're going to go into our scripts and we're going to correct the magenta stars. I run this at defaults. I never change it and I never run it twice. Does it make a difference? I don't know. I mean, I do think the stars look cleaner when I've reduced the magenta. But I do have to go in now and we have to run our curves transformation and bring our saturation up just a hair. I'm going to bring some of that color back in. And as you can see, that seemed to work quite well. If we go to our preview here, that's after saturation and before. Oh, hang on. Let's have a look at that again, because I don't think that did anything. All right, forget about the preview box here. We're just going to look at these stars down here. Oh yeah. So you see, it's subtle. I don't even know if you're going to see it on your side, but it's just subtle enough to bring some of that color back in. We'll bloat this up a little bit. Now what are we at here? We're like 4 times bloat up, so it's going to start to look a little pixely. But if we just have a look at this guy here, we've increased that red by a little bit. So it does help with the color, and it's subtle, but to me it makes a big difference. Okay, we can delete our preview window. We're now done with our star field. Everything we're going to do now is going to be, and we don't need this particular image. We're not working on that one. So everything we do now is going to be done within the image itself, including additional noise reduction, and start working with some color masks. Okay, so let's get started with that. First thing I want to do is I want to work on get some dark structures done on this globally. So we have a script for that, and it's called Dark Structure Enhance. And I usually run this in both the 3x3 and in the 5x5. There we go. So there's our 3x3, and if we back this up a little bit, let me just make this a little bit bigger for you guys. All right, so let's just back this up, and if we have a look in this area here, you should be able to, it should be very subtle, but it does give some depth to it, specifically in this region here, right? Okay, so now we're going to run the same thing again, except we want to run it on the 5x5. All right, that's taking care of that. Now you can see it's darkened the image slightly, and if I go back, you're going to see here. So there's before, okay, with nothing. There's our 3x3, and there's our 5x5. So basically, it's these areas. It's just creating some depth, right? Sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's not enough. I run it once each on them, and then I tend to leave it at that. The only concern I have is that sometimes it tends to introduce noise, which I don't think it did in this circumstance. I think we're okay. We've got some noise back in here, some modeling, but it's really not that bad. And we'll take that out with a histogram transformation. So let's just see here. Can we cut it anymore? Yeah, see, we're getting pretty tight there. We don't really want to be pulling that down much further. Okay, we'll deal with that in another way. All right, so let's start pulling some color masks off of this. And the first thing we want to do is let's want to pull a red off, and we want to go to a mask blur of 3 on this one because we don't want any sharp edges. All right, there's our mask. And we'll just set that aside. Now we're going to go pull another one, and this time let's make it blue. This should give us a lot of our background stuff, and there it is. And that's how we're going to reduce some of the modeling in here by using this particular mask. Now I know in a bicolor image, if I run the yellow, it's going to give me a red, and if I run the cayenne, it's going to give me another blue. So if we just go back in here, color masks, green, there's not going to be any green. Magenta should give me pretty much the same as what we had on the blue, or nothing. Gave me nothing. Let's just try something here, because I'm usually pulling color masks off the chrominance layer, but let's go to the lightness layer and see if we can get a magenta off that. I don't know why, but for some reason in my head it got stuck that yeah, we did get some out of it, but nothing that we're going to use. All right, so we're going to work with the 2 layers here. Let's start with the the blue, and let's we don't want to show the mask. Okay, now everything we're going to do here, we're going to do in curve transformations. So let's bring our preview up. I'm trying to make this as large as I can because I'm not exactly sure, you know, what it's looking like on your end. So any feedback in that area would be greatly appreciated. So what we want to do now is we want to get rid of some of this modeling in the back, and to do that we're going to work with the RGB, and we could use lightness as well, but we're just going to pull it down. And you see here how we're not really touching. That's what we're affecting. So basically the nebula itself is left alone. However, in these areas here, there's nebulosity that we're actually losing by doing that. So, and the same thing if we switch over to the luminance, right? It's giving us pretty much the same thing. So what we can do is we can pull the luminance down just a bit, not much. And the RGB, we're going to bring that down just a bit as well. Now we got to be careful here because it can get blotchy in some areas where there's nebulosity there if we take it too far, right? So let's just see what we got here. Yeah, I think that's okay. We don't want to go any further than that on this particular one. So let's invert that mask now. Go back into our curves transformation. And let's take a look at our blues. I'm just going to put a point right in the middle. And everything that we're going to work with is going to be in this area here. So we just want to pull that color down. Yeah, see, I kind of like that, right? We're getting into like some pinks and some oranges, some whites in the middle, right? Now, we don't have a green channel, but there's a main channel that works on the entire image. So we're going to see if we can't play with that a little bit. Let's just bring that down just a hair. All right, now we're going to do the same thing to the red channel. Bring that up just a bit. All right. Now here's where it gets, this is where it's subjective, right? Because I like that. And I really like that too, right? I like getting more into the whites and the smokiness of the nebula. So let's, if I put this in the middle and we work on this bottom again like we were before, that's when we start getting overly blocky, right? You can see it's how it's kind of blotched. It's oversaturating the area that we're working on. So this is a toss-up. I go full out or I come down into the whites. So I think I'm going to stay a little bit higher here into the reds just because it's the Rosette Nebula, right? Okay, so let's take a look at some of our other hues. So subjective. Well, that's nice too, getting up into the brights and the pinks. I think we need to stay away from the oranges because I think, yeah, that's not bad. I like that too. All right, let's apply that. Okay, so we are done with that channel. It's not too terribly bad. It's really hard to say, you know, until I get the stars on. I'm not really happy with this area, but I might have just overdone it just a bit, right? Okay, let's get rid of that. Let's get our red channel on. Back into curves. All right, now let's take a look at our saturation. I always bring the saturation up a little bit. Okay, let's bring our RGB up a little bit. Now we're going to do the same thing with our RGB, our red, blue, and our green, separate channels. And we're going to try to see if we can't get some variance in the image. Now again, depends what you want, right? I'm kind of looking more down like this. I like that. So let's take a look at our green. That's nice too. You know, just my brain is wired in such a way that I could spend all day long on one channel going back and forth, right? Yeah, that's a good example of oversaturating it, right? It gets gunky. We're not even going to worry about the red. We're going to leave that alone. I think I'm liking that so far. That's nice too, kind of fire engine red. But might be too much. Let's just see here. Yeah. Okay, we're going to keep it more subtle than not. All right, so there we go. I like that. That's a good representation of the nebula. I'm not so happy with down in this area here, but you know what we'll do is we're going to clean that up as best we can once we do a noise reduction on that. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got left for channels. We don't. We've done that one. We've gotten that one out of the way. Let's take a closer look at our noise here. Our noise, it's not great, but it's not that bad. So let's go into our nonlinear noise here. This is a different setup. ACDNR, same one I used before, but I've got different settings on it. Let's see if we can clean that up a bit. All right. Yep, not bad. Okay, so I'm happy with that. We're going to take a look at our star mask here, and we're going to apply this back into our image. And just see here what we got. Okay, before we do that though, I just want to address this this background a little bit here. And it's going to be hard, kind of hard to tell until I get the stars in. But we have some room here to clean that up a little bit now that we've made some adjustments. As you can see here, we're not quite over that peak, so we've got a bit of space here. However, I don't want to clip this red, right? So we're just gonna touch on this and see what happens here if I pull that red down a little bit. Yeah, I can live with that. Don't want to go any more than that. All right, so let's put our stars back on and see what it looks like here. Now the stars are going to go on at 80%. This is just a YouTube video that I got the pixel math from, and I've had no issues. This has worked flawlessly for me since I started using it. Okay, so image 37 clone, which is 37 clones right there. And we're going to reduce, we've tightened up our stars using deconvolution, and now we're going to add this star pattern back at a 20% reduction in brightness. So it's going to just allow us to focus more on the nebulosity and hopefully help with our contrast. Okay, so there we have it. Image 37 clone, 80% stars. Let's apply that to this image now, and there we go. All right, let's get rid of this preview. So there you go. I'm happy with the noise. That preview there, it's a little blotched, but you know, my stars are tight, and the noise is really not that bad. We could go in and do some sharpening, which I might do at a later time, but for the process of this video, I think we're pretty much done. You know, I'm happy with the results. The noise isn't too bad. The data wasn't the greatest data, and we did do it in a bicolor image rather than doing it in the tricolor. So we've left the sodium out of there. I am missing a lot of nebulosity from the background. In this region up in here, I tend to want to point, but when I point to this, you notice I'm looking down. I'd have to be like, anyways, that's my bad. This could be a lot more nebulosity. I mean, I could have brought that way up, and just to show you that it's there, if we go into our histogram again, you know, this might look awful, but just to demonstrate here, we bring that up, right? All this lighter stuff in here, and again I'm pointing, I don't know why I do that, but anyways, that's all nebulosity that we've sort of washed out, right? So let's get rid of this. We don't want that. We curves, saturation, we've done everything. One more check here. Nope, nope. Anything we do now is going to be too intrusive on the image. All right, guys, that's it. That's done. That's the Rosette Nebula taken from 2 narrowband filters. I'll just show you here. We took it from oxygen and our hydrogen, combined them and created my rendition of the Rosette Nebula. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Other than that, I think that's a wrap. Yeah, I'm actually quite happy with that image. All right, so till I get on to the next image, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.